Nimrod, the king of Babel. What kind of a man was he? And what secrets do we know?
Hi, and welcome to Ultimate Explorer. I'm Lisa Ling. Tonight we're going back to war-torn Baghdad to investigate the whereabouts of one of the world's greatest lost treasures. It's called the Treasure of Nimrod, almost 175 pounds of ancient gold jewelry and artifacts over 2,500 years old. These remarkable jewels were put on display for a brief period of time more than 10 years ago, but have been missing from public sight ever since. Just how important are they? Well, their original discovery was considered one of the most significant archaeological finds since the discovery of King Tut's tomb nearly a century ago. Now their very existence is in doubt. Were they casualties of war destroyed by the bombing of Baghdad, or have they been spirited away by Saddam and his henchmen? Join us as we try to solve the mystery of Iraq's lost treasures.
King Nimrod, the builder of the Tower of Babel. Ancient artifacts are found nearby the Tower of Babel and around the ziggurat. Many people have been scooting around to find anything of a value. Many precious artifacts are being found near the Tower of Babel and around the ziggurats. The mystery of King Nimrod, even who he was, a black man, a white man, a god. We don't know. We do know he was the king of Babel. A wealthy king with gold and many treasures. Rubies, gemstones, anything what you can think of. What a man can make him rich. Nimrod, a god, a Satan, a sun god. What kind of influence on the world religions did he really have? In that period, it looked like that King Nimrod had the whole world in his hands. With his wisdom, his hunting instinct, and with his wealth. And everything is a key to everything.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome. Super Wednesdays here in the Holy Apple, Holy Land, and the Holy Hilltop. Okay, we're all today, with God's help, we are on the second part of our amazing journey, tremendous gift that Hashem gave to us, understanding our times in history. A quick recap of what happened last week. Please go back to it. In order to follow this class, you got to go through the process, because if you skip around, you might miss something, and everything is linked here. So very quickly, last week we spoke about the first light that was created by God. It was not a natural type of light or sunlight, moonlight. It was a spiritual, it was a light of revelation, the secrets of the universe. Call it science, health, nature, technology. A person was able to use this light and see from one corner of the world to the next. Amazing. Does the light still exist, we ask? Yes, for individuals to tap in, and it exists until this very day. We all know of certain individuals, rabbis, even in our times, that were able to tap in to this tremendous secrets of the universe, wisdom, knowledge, etc. Did this light ever come back in abundance? It did in the year 1840. We will get back to that point. When will it come back totally? You have to stay tuned for that. Okay, we spoke about last week 3 world wars that would be fought throughout history. Number 1 was the Tower of Babel, Nimrod against Abraham and the Jewish people. Number 2, World War II, would be Joshua, Jewish people against the 6 Canaanite nations. Number 3 would be in the end of days, the Armageddon, Gog and Magog fighting against the Messiah, and the Jewish people, of course, going up against God. All these 3 battles. We saw within the battle, the final battle of Gog and Magog, there are 3 stages, or 3 mini wars that will be fought between the nations and the Jewish people. 3. We saw also that in history, in the Torah history, there were 3 wars that could have been the final redemption, which were fought by Sancheriv when he came up against Jerusalem, or Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylonia. 3 times he came up against Jerusalem, till both of them, it took them 3 times till they were successful. But it could have been turned around to bring the redemption, and the leaders of the Jewish people would have been the Messiahs. Didn't turn out that way. Okay, we explained beautifully by the Maharal what is special about these 3 wars. There are many wars in the world. Why did the Torah pick these 3 wars? Because these 3 wars are special. They stand out more than any other war. These were transition periods. The world would never look the same after these 3 battle royals. After these three wars, history, world, money, the way we think, ideologies would never be the same. So, therefore, we spoke about the first battle being Nimrod with all of his gods and pluralism coming against the one God, one Torah, one Abraham. Abraham is called one. The world cannot tolerate a one truth. What about us? Look at how we are able to accept all abominations. Whatever you do, live and let live. It's all cool. The world is not willing to tolerate that message. So this was a transition period. When Abraham came to the world, he changed it forever, bringing the world, the Jewish people, and the rest is history. The influence, we could talk about books that were written by Gentiles, the influence of the Jewish people on the world history. That was the first major major summit in life, a transition period. That was number one. Number two, which would change the entire world. Second transition was when the land of Israel was chosen over all the other lands that the world would not be able to swallow. What? There's a chosen land? The Kuzari, in his argument against the Jewish people, when he hears that the land of Israel is called the chosen land, man, he freaks out. He says, it wasn't easy for me to hear a lot of the things you were saying, but now a land is chosen? I mean, a land. It's not a live being. So once again, according to the Maharal, when you have a force of one, of unity, and the force of the multitudes, that is a world war. And this changed history for its entirety. The Jewish people entered the land of Israel and set up their Jewish Torah, God, one Torah, one nation of Israel, kingdom. And we're still here today. The last round will be in the end of days, our times, the war of Gog and Magog, who will come with representatives of 70 nations against the Messiah, the Jewish Messiah of one, the God of one, the Torah of one, the Jewish people, one nation. When the Torah describes the Jewish nation, it describes us in a singular form. When the nations of the world are described, they are always in plural form. The Jewish people, though there are many Jews, 13, 14 million, we are all considered one. And the world is not willing to swallow that red pill. No way. They would rather fight. That is the third. However, there is a loop. So it's an amazing thing. We know 3 world wars. We've had first World War I, World War II. We could very well be today on the brink of World War III. We spoke about it last week. But there is a loop. Comes various commentators like the Arizal and others, and he brings an amazing 4th war. He tells us that Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylonia, he is a reincarnation of none other than Nimrod, who fought the First World War in the times of the generation of the dispersion, Tower of Babel. So we have a 4th revolution. 4th revolution. Okay, with that said, just the last point, we explained that the Rabbeinu Bachye on the Parsha of Noah, and also the Malbim, they expressed to us that the Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylonia, who came against God, Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, he used the same tower as was used by Nimrod. He is a reincarnation of Nimrod. And just like Nimrod, first he ruled over his state, and then he used his people to fight more wars in order to receive more power, and then he ruled over the entire world. So too, Nebuchadnezzar almost ruled over the entire world. He was all powerful. And amazing, the same location as the Tower of Babel in the beginning of the creation in Genesis, that same location and the same tower was reincarnated to fight against God, the Jewish people, and the land of Israel and the temple. Amazing! What is behind this Tower of Babel? That it was reincarnated, played against Sam. Why is that? Okay, that was last week. This week, with God's help, we will look into exactly what was special about the Tower of Babel and to understand how many of these points that we will go over are prevalent today in our times. Let's go. Our first source is the Holy Book of the Zohar, portion Noah, pages 75, side B, 76, side A. The Zohar asks, what was this tower? What was this tower that they built? This tower that they built included in it the secrets of wisdom and knowledge. Imagine that. You knew all the secrets of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding how the world ticks. They took this tremendous gift and they used it to come against Abraham and God in this First World War. Source number 2, once again, Zohar Kadosh, punching it out hard, portion of Noah, page 75, side A. This generation of the Tower of Babel, they were able to connect with spiritual beings which had knowledge of world secrets. Folks, I know this sounds like what's that guy's? The do 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 do.
X-Files.
What?
X-Files.
The
Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone. There we go. The Twilight Zone. Rod Sterling. Yay me! Came back to me after all these years. Yeah, pat on the back. Rod Sterling. Folks, this is amazing. Okay, we're talking, we're going back here, 4,000 years. Connecting with spiritual beings which had knowledge of the world's secrets. Man, this tower was bad, was mean and lean. Source number 3, what was the tower about? We have the book Chemdat Yamim, page 55. This tower was created through the venue of tremendous knowledge of witchcraft, sorcery, black magic, and necromancy. They used all of this magic, witchcraft, in order to build up this tower. According to the book Galut HaShechina, page 206, this generation, the Tower of Babel, they knew all the secrets of nature completely. Listen to this. All completely. Secrets of nature. They were experts in astronomy and astrology. They did not need God's assistance. They had all the technology, we'll call it, They did not need God. So folks, this is like, whoa, what is going on here? It's like this bastion of knowledge, wisdom, secrets of the universe. They had it all here. We'd be able to understand, why did God step in and destroy all this? Disperse them? Because it was so dangerous, as we will continue to see. If it was all a hoax, if they really were a bunch of backward idiots, there's no need to destroy them, to disperse them. It will dissolve by itself. It will not be able to hold water. God saw what was happening and had to come in, and like the ninth inning, you have to bring in the reliever from the bullpen. God comes in from that bullpen. Okay. Next. A little bit of a light outage here in the Holy Hilltop. But we will continue. Are we good in this light? Are we okay in the light? Okay, sure, we're okay. Now, next point. Point number 5. In the book Midrash Skulat Yisrael on page 576. Folks, please put on a seatbelt. We do not have insurance. Okay? You can't make this stuff up. They built we'll call it a flying tower. I'll call it, in my language, a flying saucer. Okay, you can clean your ears out now. Take them Q-tips. Do. Go around a couple of times. You heard it right. Now, where is this from? This flying tower. What is going on over here? I mean, like, today we're accustomed to this in movies. You see, like, no problem over here. Things flying around. Cars. No drivers. Today it's, it goes. This is written. There is a concept in Jewish law brought down by the Mishnah in the tractate of Taharot, purity, in chapter 4, the first Mishnah. It talks about a tower in the sky. A tower in the sky. This is exactly, they took this secret of the Torah, which talks about a tower in the sky. Think about the rockets sending men to, that's our times, right? Wrong. Folks, we have to get it. Back in, yesteryear, these people, generations, they knew stuff that we don't even begin to understand. They knew. Just give a little example. It says in the Talmud that the king Chizkiyahu, he had to hide from the Jewish people the book of health. There was a book with all of the cures, from plants from the world to cure any and all ailments, sicknesses. Why? Because he saw that people were beginning to believe in the book. We'll call it doctors, and not belief in God. So he concealed it. It was lost to us. How did they know? Man, we're still without a vaccine here with the COVID-19. How do they know? We're talking about thousands of years ago. Don't think for a second that people were running around, like the Flintstones. Hey, meet the Flintstones, you'll have a yabba yabba do time. Oh yeah, this is not, like Fred Flintstone here and his wife. There were people like that, but there were also other people. And they were way ahead of our times. Okay. So, they used, this generation, the Tower of Babel, used wisdom that would be later replicated in Egypt. Egypt. They were able to bring down certain wisdoms. We'll call it technology. And they were able to create a tower that was in the air. This was impure wisdom. We know that in life there is always two sides of a coin. For everything good, you always have something bad. That's the way that God created. There is a good inclination and there's an evil inclination. There always has to be two powers in the world in order to allow us free choice. If there's not two ideas, then we don't have any free choice. If we don't have any free choice, there's no reason for us to be here. We might as well be angels. And that, not the Los Angeles Angels. Okay. Now, Egypt. As far as the impure wisdom, two sides of every coin, the bad guys and the good guys, and we can't let the bad guys win. So, in Egypt, what we're about to say, the sources are the following. Mechilta, Yitro, 1811, and the Chida, and others. Listen to this amazing stuff. Okay, we're talking about 3,400 years ago. Jewish people are exiting Egypt, so we're talking about approximately 3,600 years ago when they began to be enslaved. The Egyptians used tremendous secrets of knowledge and wisdom that they had, once again, from the side of impurity. And they were able to tap into that wisdom, knowledge, call it today technology, progression. And they created an amazing system. All surrounding the borders of Egypt were pictures of dogs on the various walls, borders. When a person who was not authorized to be in that area, vicinity, when a person came near that barrier, that wall, the border, that would ignite a system where, as if the dogs came to life and started barking their heads off. And I could tell you here, we have the holy Mike, Brother Mike, with his volunteers and with the dogs, and they search for people that disappear and they protect settlements. So I could tell you, when you walk into to the volunteer area and those dogs are, in them cages, just their bark is enough to frighten you away. You get one look, you have one earful, or you look at their teeth, you're out of it. So it's really, really frightening. So they had this tremendous high-tech system where they had pictures of dogs, wild dogs, on the walls, and if you came close within a certain proximity of these barriers or walls of Egypt, as if these dogs, it's like something out of a movie. But we know that these science fiction movies of yesteryear are no longer science fiction. It's actually these robots, they're here. They're really in existence. This is an amazing thing that they had going for them. So therefore, our sages tell us that there was never a situation of a slave that ran away from Egypt. And so this is an amazing technology that they had in that. Unfortunately, the sad part of life is, shed a tear part. There are so many good things that that the world could take from knowledge and from technology, nature, science, and could do beautiful things to bring into this world in all facets of life. Unfortunately, most of them are abused, and most of them are used for terrible transgressions, sins, immoral behavior, war, killings. Look at power of Adam. Not Adam, A-D-A-M, atoms. We took the power lying behind atoms, which could have been used for, curing people, and we turned it into a situation of nuclear arms to destroy the world in one push, one button. And the beat goes on. Look at the internet. Internet has so many blessings, but the bottom line is, it's the most disgusting medium around. Look at numbers for pornography sites. Look at the numbers on the internet for killings, suicides, you name it, sicknesses, illnesses. People using it to kidnap kids, adults. We've turned throughout the ages, instead of using technology for the advancement of good and perfection of behavior and coming close to God, we've used it to distance ourselves from good, from love, holiness, from God. Okay, moving on. Back to the Tower of Babel. The Arizal writes in Likutei Torah, portion of Noah. This is an amazing point. The generation of the tower, they knew the Hebrew language. They were familiar how to scramble the various Hebrew letters, combining them, scrambling, and putting them in various orders, creating names of God. This gave them tremendous powers to even create. You heard that right. Let me give a few examples. We know that the tabernacle in the desert was built by Bezalel. Bezalel was a 13-year-old boy. 13-year-old boy. How exactly? Did he go to school? Did he go to university to understand the intrinsic points of how to, how to build? No, not at all. So how did he do it? How did he pull that one off? So the Torah tells us an amazing thing. He used the 22 letters of the alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet. The same alphabet. The Torah tells us that the world, when God created the world, how did God go and create the world? God created the world, we are told, through the Torah. God looked at the Torah, the blueprint of the world is the Torah. And the Torah was created. The world was created through the blueprint of the Torah. But deeper, it means that God created the worlds, the planets, the galaxies, the stars, the oceans, technology from Torah, i.e., letters of Torah. Through various combinations of the letters of the Torah, God created worlds. They took the generation of Tower of Babel, they took this knowledge of the Hebrew language. You know, folks, in parentheses, today there's a battle in Israel going on. There is this Christian missionary group called God's TV that they received license by the Hot cable company in Israel to 24/7 give over the words of the gospel, to give over the words of JC, to influence and try to convert Jews to Christianity, all in the Hebrew language. This is a big danger, not of their message, but once again using the Hebrew language. The Hebrew language has tremendous powers in all facets of our world. The Torah even goes further. We are told in many sources of our sages that if a person knew how to utilize the words, the letters of the Torah, putting them in various orders of God's name, because the Torah is God's name, all of God's name. If a person knew, was privy of that knowledge, they could resurrect the dead. We know that there were sages in the Talmud that resurrected dead people, creating worlds. High tech. The Arizal continues. They use these techniques via the Hebrew language, the alphabet, and they created phenomena beyond the laws of nature. We spoke about the flying saucer, flying tower. Last but not least, the Arizal writes that they ruled over angels, the celestial bodies, to assist them. In Hebrew it's called lashbia et ha-malachim. They swore to allegiance, the angels, for their service of erecting this high-tech tower to fight against God. We don't need God. We have our tower. We have our high tech. We are able to do all, everything and anything. We've got the power. We are omnipotent. Next, in the work Be'or HaChaim, not to be confused with the Or HaChaim, page 39. He writes there similar to the Arizal. Listen to this. The secret codes of the world were broken. Secret codes, they were able. The generation of the Tower of Babel, they were on such a high level, they were able to break the codes of the world of creation. And the results came quickly. That tower. Thus, their language, they had to forget the language, the Hebrew language, the holy tongue. And that's why they were all dispersed and they all forgot. They all spoke originally Hebrew, holy tongue. They all forgot it. And then they created new languages. Why? In order to save the world, they had to be stopped. So God changed their language, thus their ability to break the codes. It's like, imagine you gave a few of your workers keys to various, rooms with money or assets, and all of a sudden you notice a couple of days that different assets or gold or silver are gone. You got to change the locks in order to ensure that they can't do it again. The changing of the locks is the changing of the language, the dispersion. That's how it went down. Okay, so let us summarize here. Stage number 1 so far. The generation of the Tower of Babel was privy to tremendous secrets of the universe. These secrets, this knowledge, wisdom, understanding, creativity, were all leftovers from the first light which the world was created. They were able, one of our first questions in the first class, are we still able to tap in to this knowledge and wisdom which enables us to see from one side of the world to the next? Amazing, high tech. Yes, they were able to tap in to this first light, secret knowledge, wisdom, understanding of the world. That's summary 1. Summary 2. Another angle that some of our sages take is that the Tower people used various forms of magic, witchcraft, black magic, sorcery to achieve their goals. Now, the obvious question is, all of this funky black magic, sorcery, witchcraft, necromancy, does it really work? Or is it just an illusion? Folks, you asked the big question. In order to get a big answer, my advice would be the following. This is not the forum to go into that right now. Know, please, that there are various opinions amongst our sages. Some tell us that there is power. There is power to create realities. With this black magic and sorcery, those that know how to do it. On the other hand, there are other sages that say it's all an illusion. Optical illusion. Okay, where could we find, if we're interested in finding out more information of this, Houdini. So please look at the following source. In the Talmudic Encyclopedia, volume number 32, pages 403 and 406, you'll see there a tremendous summary of all the opinions. It's really, really amazing. Okay, so that's the second angle. Third, the generation of the tower, they used the Hebrew language, they used God's names, they used ruling over the angels in heaven, and they became a technological, high-tech super power. When the Torah tells us in Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 to 9, where it discusses the entire subject of the Tower of Babel, it says that they wanted to create a name for themselves. So What does it mean, create a name? It means that they used God's names in order to create this tremendous high-tech tower and reality and society. Fourth summary. All of this wellspring of knowledge, wisdom, secrets of the galaxies, of planet Earth, of nature, this technical advancement was all used, number one, to rule over the masses, to eliminate the power of the masses and to be utilized by the elite, and also to nullify and fight against belief in God. Separate the masses from belief in God. Who needs God? We are gods. Look at our creation. Look at our tower. Look at our flying saucer. We know it all. There is nothing that can stop us. When we say the fighting against God, using this high-tech technology, that is in the words of chapter 11, verses 1 to 9, the tower's head was in the heavens. That is an expression of fight against God, a war against God. The tower being its head in the sky, in the heavens, that was the fight against God. There was no need more for gods because we are gods.
AMBS Architects has proposed the 1,152-meter tall skyscraper for Iraq's Basra province, which would surpass Jeddah's Kingdom Tower and Dubai's Burj Khalifa to become the tallest building in the world. Composed of 4 conjoined towers, the broad tower's 230 stories would be topped by an 188-meter-tall antenna. This would make the structure 152 meters higher than the planned height of the Kingdom Tower, designed by Adrian Smith plus Gordon Gill Architecture and currently under construction in the Saudi Arabian city. The world's tallest building title is currently held by Dubai's 830-meter Burj Khalifa skyscraper, also designed by Smith & Gill while working at US firm SOM. AMBS Architects' broad tower would be surrounded by a glazed canopy on its south facade, referred to as a veil, and designed to offer shade to the complex's low-rise buildings and public areas. Basra is located in the south of Iraq, and is a rapidly growing business center. The building takes its name from the local area, the Pride of the Gulf. The structure's 3 other towers would measure 724 meters, 484 meters and 61 meters respectively. The Bride is designed to house offices, hotels, residential areas, commercial centers, parks and gardens, and even its own rail network across the 1,550,908 square meters of floor space. Breaking the 600-meter height mark, the tower would fall into the category of megatall. Towers over 300 meters are known as super tall.
Okay, last but not least, for today, God's help. What exactly was the sin of the generation of the Tower of Babel? I wanted to bring 2 amazing commentators, amazing stuff, in order to understand our times today. Number 1, batting first, is Rashar Hirsch, Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch. He has a commentary on the Torah. Once again, chapter 11, verses 1 to 9. I summarize for you all. Number 1. The people at this time, this generation, they left their residence amongst nature and went to a specific place, locale, which was devoid of any natural resources in order to create their own man-made stone. We don't want to utilize what God has created. We want to create. We want to be the creators instead of God. We don't want what God has given us. We want to create. 2. What was their intention? To make a name for themselves, i.e., replacing God and controlling individuals. Listen to these words because they're so prevalent today in our times. It is what's happening today. 3. They were certain that they could master nature. 4. They understood that power lies in the masses and not in individuals. However, the individuals became a pawn in the hands of the elite to be used and then disposed. Five, their leader was Nimrod. Tractate Chulin, page 89, side B. He was cunning enough to make the masses enthusiastic for their own progress. Quote unquote. We're doing this for your benefit. Think of all the isms. Communism, socialism, capitalism. All these isms that were created and got the masses excited because they were doing it. The leaders, the brains behind. We want to assist you. We want to be beneficial for your progress. And the rest is history. For the benefit of mankind, they came and raised the flag of ism only to destroy the individual. Next, in truth, this was an act of control. That's why the Torah terms Nimrod as the hunter, Tzayad. He used the masses, he excited them, he got them all riled up, and, gave them this ideal. But basically, it was all a farce in order for him to rule and control them. So he actually was called the hunter. He was able to catch them. Our sages tell us in Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, chapter 24, an amazing story, that if a brick fell from the Tower of Babel, they would mourn and they would cry and they would tear out their hair. When a person would fall building the tower, that did not bother them. So, amazing thing. Just like Nimrod, he utilized the power, he understood the power of the masses and used that power, but in order to enslave at a later stage the population and have them under his control. So, in the end, the individual became irrelevant, unimportant. Whether you're living or dead is, no longer of any relevance. Who cares? all in all, all in all, it's just another brick in the wall, as Pink Floyd would say. The future or destruction of mankind is dependent on the priceless value and recognition of the individual. Instead of the community summoning every individual to call in the name of God, they summoned the community to worship the leaders and to fight against God. So basically, Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch is telling us an amazing lesson here, that the idea behind the Tower of Babel was basically excite the masses. There's an expression, the masses are, it rhymes with masses. The masses are blanks. Figure it out. There's a term that was coined in the Cold War, many associated with Lenin, that the masses are useful idiots. But there's no real proof that it was Lenin that said it. But it was around the Cold War time. So the masses are blanks, and they're useful idiots until you don't need them anymore. And we're going to hit heavy on what the world in our times, in our days, real time, what we're heading to, how the individual will be eliminated, will be termed useless for the elite, for the masses. And this ain't no conspiracy theory. Next, the Abarvanel. Abarvanel, once again, Noah, chapter 11, verses 1 to 9. Here's his principles. Number 1, this is very interesting. This is a total TKO against technology. Listen to this, amazing. God created the world, nature, and all of the natural resources in order to serve and assist human beings, allowing us peace of mind, enabling us to worship God and to perfect our character traits. God gave us everything we need in order that we would not be distracted to get off track. This was all located originally in the Garden of Eden. However, Adam, Cain, Tuval, Cain, Yaval, Yuval, Hanoch, they all chose and preferred progress of technology over rural life of a farmer, life of agriculture, people close to the land. So they chose technology and progression over rural life, over nature and simplicity that God had created. They left rural life for building up urban cities, creating governments, city planning. This all led to leaving God and life full of robbery, murder, and lust in order to get ahead of the Jones. This could all be found, the derogatory deficiencies of living in urban communities. Look up Eruvin, page 21, side B. It talks about that the fact that there are cities, this creates situations of everyone's looking at the other guy and becoming, it's not like I have my own piece of land, I live by myself on my farm. No, everybody's you're living next to each other. Why does this guy have this kind of car, Porsche? Why does he have this kind of Mercedes? And the beat goes on. Why is he wearing Nike shoes and I only have Saucony shoes? In the words of Solomon, God created man to be straight and honest on his own land. However, the masses had different ideas of inventing, creating, man-made. All these inventions and so-called progress removed mankind from God's original plan, i.e., perfecting human nature and character and coming close to God and praying. Their lot, like Adam, was to be expelled from their city or their cities. So there you have it. You have amazing insights by Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, negating the individual, just eliminating the individual and being utilized by the elite for their benefit, and when no longer needed, being tossed out. And there you have it, the abarvanel. The mistake, the sin was that God gave us very simple, natural land, farm, animals, chickens laying eggs, milk from cows. We left that simplicity. It was all provided. God provided what we needed. And we left that for progression, for city life, urban life. And that is what destroyed the world, the generation of the Tower of Babel. As we said, when you weigh technology advances in the world, and you look at the world as looking for holiness, for goodness, for kindness, for love, unfortunately, the scales have been tipped for evil. To be continued. Don't go anywhere.